Southend Film Festival returns this Thursday in the same week as Southend has made this bid to become the City of Culture 2017. The Film Festival showcases British independent films, and this year's lineup includes thrillers, family comedies, world cinema, and documentaries as well. Director Simon Frith premieres his film In Search of Our Throwaway History. And Simon joins me now. Are you a Southend man yourself?
Indeed I am. I've always lived in Southend, born in Southend Hospital, so yes.
So hence wanting to premiere your film.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean,
at the Southend Festival.
There's been lots of connections with this film. Broadly, it epitomises culture in its broadest sense, but also it's... Not only do I live there, we shot some of the film in Southend locations, and the composer, local composer as well, who's composed the score, lives in Southend as well.
So take me through the film. Tell me all about it.
Well, we think of it as the ultimate nostalgia trip, really. If you've ever had a conversation that begins, do you remember when, then this film is for you. It's the story of the things that we buy, use and then throw away every day. The everyday things that we eat, drink and use to keep ourselves clean and healthy, really. The things that we don't really take much notice of at the time, but then if we rediscover them 10, 20, 30 years later, particularly those things that have disappeared, we realise how they've shaped our lives.
And they do, and we can still remember the adverts, can't we? We can still remember them.
That's right. It ingrains themselves. They ingrain themselves into our psyche, really, and they're a record of our history. It's not the history of kings and queens, great events and political events, but it's a record of how we lived and how our parents and grandparents lived and how connected.
Before we go any further, we've got a clip from the film here. Let's have a listen to it so we can all sort of get the flavour of the whole thing.
I remember loving ski yoghurt. We always had a pudding of sorts, and pudding suddenly became ski yoghurt.
When we were children going to the seaside, we used to have yoghurts in little baby glass milk bottles. They were absolutely fantastic. And then yoghurts became big business, and the ones I liked the most were called Choc Top yoghurts. The chocolate on the top was like solid. You could sort of break it in half almost and peel it off, eat some of the yoghurt and then eat the chocolate topping later.
Fiendish Feet yoghurts were yoghurts that came in little plastic pots with feet, and that's what counted. It was almost a toy, and there were kind of 8 different ones. I used to have them all lined up.
Gosh, no, I had them. I remember them. And I remember particularly having the toffee flavour, and that was always quite special because yoghurts, that sort of thing, were normally the fruit flavour. And perhaps Mum had decided that I needed a bit more encouragement to eat the yoghurt, so having something with a silly face on and these weird feet meant it was a bit more interesting and encouraged me to have one a bit more.
I didn't know you could say so much about yoghurt. I mean, it's incredible, isn't it, really? Those memories. I don't remember the chocolate one. I think I'd have had that, really.
Absolutely. Well, it's packed full of memories, really. It's a feature-length documentary. I think most of the documentaries you see on television are half hour, an hour long. This is nearly 2 hours long. And we found it a real struggle, really, to sort of say what we wanted to put in, because there's so many sort of categories of food and drink that it just becomes a massive
How
list.
do you do something like that but still make it engaging and amusing and interesting for you say it's about 2 hours long?
That's right. Well, it is a challenge. I mean, we started the journey about 3 years ago. We sort of interviewed about 35 members of the great British public to sort of get their impressions. Some of those were from Southend as well. Yeah. And we got their understandings, and what was interesting was a lot of those folk have what we call shared memories. They're sort of the memories that they think are personal to themselves, but actually it becomes a shared memory that's common to so many of us, and I think that's what keeps it going.
Because we were talking about Party Sevens, weren't we? Those dreadful there were like massive tins of beer. If you're certainly of a young age, you won't remember these because thank heavens they went out. But Party Sevens, and there was no way to get in them apart from a little thing with a pointed top that just you skewered the top of them. Nobody ever had one. So you took a Party 7 to a party, that was the idea of it, and you had to open it with a screwdriver and a hammer. That was the only way I ever saw a Party 7 opened, which of course sprayed everywhere. Is that a collected memory?
It
that
certainly
a shared
is.
memory?
We have quite a piece of chunk in the film on the Party 7 moment, and the memory is the same for everybody. It's quite incredible.
I wonder if anybody ever drank it. Because, I thought it was ghastly, personally, because it was all fizzy. But that, it was mostly being sprayed around poor people's houses, and their parents came back and... You've had a party, haven't you? Because there was Party 7 all over the ceiling.
Absolutely, and we discovered lots and lots of things in this film. Well, certainly for myself, I was a child of the 70s and 80s, and when I started the journey, I think, well, this is a great way for me to sort of get nostalgic about those things. But I've discovered a whole heap of things going back into the 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s.
Like what?
Individual fruit pies, for argument's sake. They are a pie. If you get a pie today, like an apple pie, it's a very small pie.
Yeah.
It's gone in a flash. Of course, a family pie is too big, but the individual fruit pie was one that was somewhere in between.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't believe how many people remember those.
And what other things? Go on, throw a few more at me.
More. What about things like cremola foam? I mean, that's an early one. Like little crystals you put into water to sort of make a frothy drink.
Yes, heavens above.
And surprisingly, washing powders as well are quite emotive for a lot of people. Omo, Rinso, Tide, a lot of the names that have gone out. But
the new, again, we all know this, don't we? But new improved, and then new improved again, new improved. And you think, what on earth was it like to start with?
Absolutely. Well, we go back to the origins. We tell the story. So it's not just about nostalgia. We give a bit of an interest and a story to where these things came from. And it's surprising how far some of these things do go back in reality. I mean, for example, if I said Crunchy, when did that come out? You wouldn't know necessarily, but in fact it came out in 1929.
No.
That's right.
29?
1929 Crunchy was introduced.
And it's still around now.
Still around today. I mean, it's not looking the same.
No.
But surprisingly, many brands do keep that consistency.
It is terrific that this film is being premiered at the Southend Film Festival. And do you think it'll help towards the City of Culture 2017? The fact that things like this are happening in our county?
I think it can only help to improve the chances of that City of Culture status. But I think even without that, I think it's great for people like myself, independent film producers, to have an outlet where we can put this film on locally. I mean, there are other festivals around the country, around the world, but it's great that we can sort of showcase it locally and share and bring something back to that community.
When you've made a film like this, I can't imagine how much the cost of it would be, but what happens then? You premiere it at a film festival, and what happens then?
Well, we're on the very early stages of negotiating all sorts of deals with various folk. The festival gives us an opportunity to sort of test the water, if you like. So we'll bring in some cameras down as well to sort of get some reaction.
So what could happen after this? What would you love to happen after this?
Well, we've... the ultimate plan is we'll go out to DVD, so it becomes something that people can look at, pause at the moment, they sort of see the moment, the thing they remember. But in between times, some other screenings around the country, like the festival, plus, I mean, even a TV deal would be exciting.
Right, because I mean, you'll never see it at the Odeon, will you? But for it to be on television, that would be big, wouldn't it?
It would be, yes, yeah.
Thank you so much. Absolutely great to have you here. When can people see it, and where can they buy tickets?
Well, it's on at the festival on the 6th of May at 5:30. Tickets are available online through the festival desk, which is southendfilmfestival.com. And they're very, very reasonable, £4, so it's not going to break the bank, hopefully. And do encourage everyone to come down.
I think you already have, Simon. Thank you very much indeed. Simon Frith there, premiering his film In Search of Our Throwaway History.